Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drake Queen Game, to 70 Mountain Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Violet Memoir, Leigh's Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. That was very embarrassing, though he tried to tell me that he was listening and enjoyed it. I still can't help but feel a little dumb. Still, I had a fun night, even if I'm suffering for it now. Someone has to be the responsible one around here. God knows it isn't going to be any of the others. You using religious metaphors feels very strange now. If you want, I can recite scripture to you. You know them off by heart? Of course not. Who do you think I am? I'm a mechanic, not a priest. That makes him crack a smile, and it's enough to get me giggling as well. After our little spat, if you could even call it that, things are lightening up already. If anything, there's a weight off my shoulders. Not all of it, though, but enough. Now, get up. I'm not letting you be late because you want to stay in bed and cuddle. We can do that later. Really? Yes, Wallace, we can do that later. And don't worry about the diary thing. We can read it with everyone else after class this evening. Oh, right, I totally forgot that we'd all be together. I never realized you were this much of an airhead. I'm not usually. This morning has just been a lot. That's an understatement. What are you going to do? Well, after I walk you to class, I'll head to work to see what Graham wants to do. I got some classes this afternoon, too. I had an idea about what we could do to deal with this whole nightmare situation. Something that might make both of us feel a bit more secure? You don't sound confident, but what's the but? I haven't fully decided yet. We'll figure this out after class, okay? He just squints at me, and I know he wants to pry further, but after our little discussion, I think he's trying to respect my boundaries a little more. Though, I think that's partially just because I have a class coming up on us really fast. Okay, I'll wait. Just, don't do anything stupid. No reading the diary until I'm around, okay? I'm serious. He picks up the diary to emphasize his point. I'm almost certain he's gonna take it with him, but he hands it back over to me with an uncertain look in his eyes. I don't like this, but I trust you, okay? Thanks. I promise I won't. I know you won't. You're a good kid. You're a good guy. That doesn't roll off the tongue as nice. I think you'll get used to it. I'll have to. Now come here. He reaches out his hand, but when I bring my own out to meet his, he just ignores it and cups my face, leaving me no time to react as he pulls it towards him until our lips are pressed together. My mind short-circuits as I gasp, allowing his tongue to slide into my mouth, leaving electric shocks wherever it touches. I'm barely able to revel in it before he pulls away, breathing a little bit heavier while I'm left totally dazed. What? But he doesn't respond, just chuckles and gives me another quick peck on the forehead before he pushes himself back up onto his feet and packs his stuff up. By the time I wrangle my brain back under my control, he's slipping out the door, and I'm left alone with only the diary in my lap to keep me company. The temptation that's usually there is weaker than normal as my brain can only focus on what just happened. Maybe that was his intention. Either way, it was amazing. Oh crap, class is almost starting! I slide the diary alongside a few other necessities into my bag as I zoom out, hoping that I'm not going to be late after all those distractions. I don't think I've ever been more excited to go back to class. After everything that's been happening, having to just hear about basic biology concepts or about prominent books we can look into that are normal and not related to dead girls. Not real ones, anyway. Maybe this is what I needed. When I first got my schedule, I was excited for my Fridays to be empty, and while I'm sure it'll be great later, it would have been nice to have some more normalcy. A pleasant distraction from everything, though I guess school's always been like that. Things don't really change, whether it's escaping your awful dreams or your awful house. But as I'm walking to the lecture hall for media, I know we're going to be getting back into it again. I'm glad Leigh convinced me to wait until later. If he hadn't, I probably would have been thinking about it all day. Suddenly, an arm wraps around me and pulls me to the side, nearly causing me to trip on my own feet, but a hand on my waist stabilizes me. Thankfully, I recognize who it is without needing to look. I've done this song and dance enough times by now. You know, I'm surprised Papa Bear isn't walking you to class. I expected him to be all over you, making sure you're all safe and other things. He had stuff to do, and I had classes all day. Still, I wouldn't have been surprised if he threw away all things in his way to stand by your side. He glides his hand in front of both of us like he's highlighting some invisible sign in an overdramatic flare. Romantic, right? Did Lily talk to you? Nah, you two aren't exactly subtle. Hey, Charlie hasn't been responding to my messages. You know what's going on with that? I tried to ask her, but she never got back to me. There was some family stuff. Maybe give her some space for a bit. I figured it was something big. I left her alone, don't worry. Should I be worried about Papa Bear? I can try and cheer him up. That doesn't sound like the greatest idea. What? No way, he loves me, man. Are you trying to cheer me up? I guess I'm not so slick, huh? Must be losing my edge. You're looking a little out of it. Something happened? Just the usual. Honestly, today's been a lot better. Classes were a nice distraction. Distraction from what? I thought things were going pretty well. About that. Can I tell you guys after class? It might be better to do it once everyone's around. That's a little scary, little dude. Be careful telling that to Grumpy. You might not want to let Lucas know you're thinking like that. He might lose all his fur, and that would suck. So soft. You know? Ah! We just teleport. I've been getting there. Maybe soon he'll be comfortable enough to let me touch him. I'm a real affectionate guy, you know? But I ain't gonna, push over his boundaries. I don't like that, man. I know you're not. Despite what Lucas and Leigh say, I know you're a pretty great guy. And that's why you're my favorite. Now, come on, we better hurry before Papa Bear stares any more daggers into me. I'm about to ask what he means, but I can see he's looking at something ahead of us. Following his gaze, I can see that it's Leigh leaning next to the door at the lecture hall, watching the two of us approach. Already overdoing the overprotective boyfriend act? What? I'm not allowed to wait outside? Nah, just tugging your tail, man. You should have messaged me if you were waiting. I would have come sooner. It's not that important. I just wanted to check up on you. Alone. Ha, you're no fun. Is Grumpy here already? Lucas, I haven't seen him yet, but he might have gotten here before I did. Sounds like something he'd do. Well, I'll see you two after class. Hey, don't forget that school makes him really uncomfortable. Just don't push him today, okay? Don't worry, I wasn't gonna mess with him. Honestly, I'm a bit worried about him. Thought he could use some company to keep his mind off things, you know? I think that's a good idea. Just don't harass him. I won't. At this rate, he might evolve from Papa Bear to Mother Hen. Or is that devolving? You get what I mean. Go. I'm going. Oscar plods away with his hands raised in the air, looking absolutely ridiculous as he refuses to lower them, even after he's opened the door to the hall. I don't see where he runs off to inside before the door closes, but I can only assume he's hunting down the poor fox. I hope Lucas is alright. I'll have to keep an eye out, too. He's gonna give that poor kid a heart attack. I don't know. I think he was serious about being careful. He's been doing a pretty great job considering where they started. He lets out a sigh that catches me off guard. I didn't expect this conversation to change tone so suddenly. He must have noticed my reaction because he gives a chuckle before messing with my hair again. You're right. He's doing a pretty damn good job. It's hard to get some stuff out of my head. I know he's a good guy. He just worries me. Worried for Lucas or for him? How are you doing? You feeling better about that nightmare? Yeah, actually, I'm doing pretty good. I think all the classes have kept my mind preoccupied. That makes sense. When my mom died, distractions were all I had, outside of taking care of Charlie. I'm glad yours are more healthier than mine. I raise my eyebrow, but he just looks away, his ears folding down in shame. I know he did some stuff in high school that he wasn't proud of, but I still haven't really heard the extent of it. I'm not gonna pry. It sounds like a sensitive place to prod, and no one likes their dirty laundry being dragged out. You two look like you're about to start crying. Is everything okay? I know college is hard, but we've barely started. Lily's voice catches me off guard, but Leigh looks less than surprised. Must have saw her coming. She's got a beaming smile on her face, though it doesn't entirely reach her eyes, which just look filled with concern and worry. But seriously, is everything alright? Leigh looks like he's doting on you, which is honestly more worrying than him being upset, and that means something happened. Lily, can we talk after class? There's something I wanted to ask you. Should I be worried or excited? A little bit of both, I think? Well, that's certainly mysterious, but I can tell you two are having a moment, so I'll leave you alone. Actually, I think we're done. I was just checking in on Wallace. It wasn't anything serious. There's a part of me that's surprised that Leigh's covering for me. It's the truth, but I kinda expected him to spill the beans about my nightmare, especially to Lily, who'd almost certainly agree with him. And from the uncertain look on his face, it's clear he isn't even sure about keeping quiet here. One side eye from Lily is more than enough to let me know that she sees right through the two of us, but thankfully decides to let us go without comment. With a wave, she disappears through the doors, holding them open for us to follow after her. The first thing I do after we enter the lecture hall is scout out where Oscar and Lucas are, though it doesn't take me long to see them sitting together a few seats into one of the middle rows, leaving enough space for the rest of us. They're talking to each other, though it's hard to tell if it's going well or not. Oscar's wearing his usual smug grin, which could mean literally anything, and Lucas isn't much better as he just looks as grumpy as always. Lily dashes off to meet up with them, not even bothering to wait for us as she slides into the row and instantly joining the conversation. But their interaction makes me more happy for an entirely different reason. Lucas looks much more comfortable than he did last week. I couldn't see him very well, but from even there, I could tell he looked like shit. Now that I think back on it, I really should have tried comforting him more. I was just scared of upsetting him further. It's not your responsibility to take care of someone. You know, and take care of someone you don't know. A little ironic for you to be saying that. Maybe, considering it's speaking from experience. Class should be starting soon. Right, sorry. The two of us rush down to our seats right as the professor starts setting everything up. Leigh pulls out his massive collection of stationery that I'd completely forgotten about, so I hurried up to not be left behind. I try to pull out my notebook, only to see something else in my hand instead. The familiar purple diary brings a little bit of dread with it as soon as I see it. I'd put it alongside my other media book since it was related to the class and completely forgot it was there. I slide it back in and grab out the proper book, but it's hard to focus on anything as the class starts. All I can think about is that piece of the diary I'd found in my nightmare. Was it an actual page like last time, or was it just part of the dream? What had even happened at that time? The dreams usually made some degree of sense, but the last one had been more manic than the rest. What could it have meant? My train of thought is interrupted by the familiar rough texture of Leigh's hand on top of my own. He doesn't do anything more besides gently holding it, but it's enough to drag me out of my head. He isn't even looking at me. His attention is solely on our professor as he jots down notes, his pen writing a furious storm as he nearly writes everything word for word. I'll have to give him some tips about note-taking. Thanks. My voice is barely above a whisper to avoid distracting any other students, and he doesn't respond, but a small smile grows on his face that gives me enough reassurance that he heard me. He doesn't take his hand away until I return to taking notes, and I'm half tempted to just forgo writing anything for the rest of the class just to keep his touch, but I know he wouldn't appreciate my irresponsibility, both to our class and for any level of secrecy we have, even if it's rapidly dwindling with every passing hour. Despite my best efforts, it's become increasingly hard to focus, though it isn't hard because of the diary this time. I'm just struggling to keep my eyes open. Oh, don't fall asleep! I must have had less sleep last night than I thought. I have a feeling the nightmare is probably to blame. I don't remember ever losing sleep because of them, but who's to say it doesn't happen now? Don't fall asleep, Wallace! For some reason, my eyelids are so heavy. I can barely keep them open. A light shake brings me right out of my drowsiness as I feel Leigh's arm wrapped around my waist. His hand is slid underneath my shirt and is resting against my hip, completely forgoing any sense of privacy if anyone decides to look. His attention is still firmly on the professor, and I can't stop a blush from appearing on my face. I can't believe I almost fell asleep in class. I've never done that before. Now that I've been lurched out of it, I don't even feel a little bit drowsy anymore. Honestly, it's kind of weird, but I guess I just needed a little surge of adrenaline to wake me up. I shake it off and try my hardest to make sure I have any notes coming out of make sure I have any notes coming out of this lesson. Though I'm barely able to make much progress in catching up before everything's already over. I must have been zoning out for longer than I thought. I'm grateful Leigh knocked me out of it, though. Then, before we know it, everyone is packing up to leave. It's honestly a little bit overwhelming. Why does this day feel like it's going so fast all of a sudden? Things were going so fine before. Before I know it, we're all standing outside the lecture hall together with everyone chatting about something I can't really focus on. Oscar's joking with Lily while sticking his tongue out at Lucas, who just looks happy to not be in the lecture hall anymore. Leigh hasn't left my side for a second, though. He doesn't really look too worried, thankfully. I think he understands that I'm just a little out of it. It isn't anything major. Alright, I'm gonna pause it right there, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!